Well, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning. We're back for another chat. It's good to see you ladies this morning. Today we've got me and Paige, and we're excited to have our guest Kelly, who was a volunteer in the Dominican Republic. And Paige was supposed to do the library with Kelly before the virus happened. We've mentioned that on a few chats before, that was the Dominican was one of the ones that got postponed. But we're so happy, Kelly. Thank you for being with us today, and just excited to chat with you a little bit about your experience and just about the Dominican, because I think it's a newer country for us, right, Paige? I mean,
yeah, Susan, I think, has been once, and so I was going to be going back with a volunteer, specifically because, like, one of my good friends is from El Salvador, and so he was going to come with us just because he is more experienced, I guess, and like,
yeah,
you
in
know,
that region,
yeah,
like,
and that way, because especially when we go to new countries, we usually take two first. I think we talked a lot about that in last week's video, instead of taking just whoever wants to go, just because
right.
we don't have the information to fill them in, to be like, this is what to expect, this is what this country's like, this is what the culture is like, because we don't have firsthand experience yet. And so, you know, it worked out really well that I had somebody that could go with me that did have that firsthand experience, but wasn't necessarily a first like it usually would be.
Right.
But, yeah, so we were supposed to go. We got very early into the planning stages and then had to stop.
Yeah, it'll be fun. I've never been to Dominican, so when we open up again, I think that's going to be fun.
I'm excited
to get to know that country. But I mean, Kelly, how long were you there with the Peace Corps before you got pulled out?
I was there for exactly a year. I think it was like maybe a week or two off of my 1 year point that I was in country.
So a solid amount of time to really kind of get a handle on the culture and
just enough, really.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So can you tell us, can you kind of give us like a one sentence of what the climate's like in Dominican?
Hot. It is generally a very hot country. Normally, I think the averages are from like 70 to 80 all year round. So, and when it comes to the climate, it generally only changes based on like the rainy season.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of cools down when it rains. But otherwise it's generally just like hot.
I was not excited about that part, to be honest.
Yeah.
Is it like it's like a hot and humid?
Yeah, hot and humid.
Okay.
Up in the mountains, when you get up there, it tends to be a lot cooler, around 60s, and a little less humid. But it generally, and around the coast, I'd say it's like an average of like 90 a lot of the times. But in the country, like for example, if you're in Santo Domingo, 70 to 80 on average year round is usually where it's at.
Okay. And you were near the coast, right? You were in like the northwest coastal area?
Yeah, so I was in the northwest, near Montecristi was my region. And so I think it was maybe like I was 30 minutes away from the coast.
Okay, that's what I thought. I remember mapping it all out and trying to figure it out.
Now, Kelly, does 30 minutes away really mean 30 minutes away? Because I mean, did it really take 30 minutes to get to the beach, or was there a bus ride and waiting and etc. in between?
Yeah. So I was fortunate enough to be with a family who actually had a car. So when you drove with the car, it took 30 minutes. But oftentimes when that wasn't available, to get into my site, there is no public transportation. So I had to take a motorcycle to get out of my site. So I'd have to like stand and wait for someone to be like, hey, can you take me to the main road? So that would take me a little bit. And then it's like 15 minutes to the main road, and then to catch a bus from the main road to Montecristi, the city there, out there. So it often took a lot longer than 30 minutes.
So
We didn't make it to that planning part of the trip.
this sounds
there's
interesting. I mean,
there's no public transport into my town. So you had to either ask for a ride, just hitch a ride with someone that you knew. Because from the town, a lot of people, you start to, learn faces and,
Right.
Make friendships and bonds. And you're just like, hey, can you take me to the main road? So there's a lot of that going on. But there are motorcycles that come in and out that you can also, it's kind of, that's like the public transport there, but there's no bus or car or anything that comes into my town.
but I'm assuming when you moved in originally, like you had a car bring your stuff in, right? Or was that all coming on motorcycles?
Yeah, so it depends. Actually Peace Corps dropped me off at my school with my stuff. So that was good. But I do know other volunteers who they were like, we can't really get you to your school, so you got to take your stuff on a moto. So, imagine like with all the things they're capable of balancing on a motorcycle, it's just mind boggling.
Oh, wow.
They'll have like, 4 suitcases high and just kind of holding it. That's their security. And they're just, romping around and you're just like, oh my God, I feel like all of that stuff is going to go flying. But
so what I'm learning is I would have come back with some really interesting stories from this site.
Oh yeah, we'll definitely come back with interesting stories from this.
Oh gosh, it would have been one of those, Rachel.
This is funny. I mean, we've had like an episode of kind of the ways we travel and the way, we've gotten places in boats and hiking and horses or whatever. But you know what? I don't know if we've done one yet, Paige, where it is motorcycles only.
Oh, and the person that's afraid of motorcycles is going to be the one that was there. Like, I'm afraid of not a lot, but motorcycles is one of them.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, to get into my site, you have to be kind of motorcycle friendly.
I mean, I probably would have had to do it, but
hey, you can do some test runs here in the States before you go there. It's just
not a fan, Rachel. Not a fan. My brother used to race motorcycles. There's no getting comfortable.
Oh,
that's around it.
That's a different
level. The good
level.
thing is, though, in my site, when you go in through, like after you come off the main road, the entire drive is all rice fields, like beautiful mountains.
Oh my
God. Fields. It's absolutely my favorite view of like everything that I've seen in the Dominican Republic. My favorite is my own entrance to my town because it's just straight rice fields. You can see the mountains, and like if you get there, like when it's like sunrise or sunset, it's absolutely perfect.
That's fantastic. God, we would have been.
Well, you got lucky there. Yeah, that's amazing.
Boxes of books on a motorcycle.
Yeah, I'm liking it, Paige. I'm liking the sound.
I know. Well, and on top of this, Kelly, the volunteer that was supposed to come with me, he's like well over 6 feet tall.
Oh my goodness.
We would have been, people would have never forgotten.
Yeah. Yep, very tall man with boxes of books on the back of a moto.
Yeah, it would have been fantastic.
So tell us some things about the culture. Because I don't know. I haven't been there, so I'm not as familiar with the Dominican culture.
Yeah, I would have come in assuming it's similar to other Central American places we've been, but that's just. But there's the likelihood of it not being is.
Mm-hmm. The DR is actually the only place that I have been to south of the United States. So I also had no idea what I was expecting because I've traveled all over. I lived in Europe, I lived in Asia, but I had never done anything, in this part of the world. So I also had no idea really what to expect. But I was very pleased when I arrived, and it's a very, very welcoming culture, very welcoming in the sense that like maybe they don't have a lot of things that we take for granted here, but they share everything.
Yeah.
And like, I know many of times where like, because we stay with several host families before we get put into our community to kind of learn as much about the culture in different aspects as possible. And in every single household that I was in, it was a common factor of like, okay, I'm making food for just whoever. And so they would make a bunch of food, and then she'd be like, oh, can you run this to the neighbor? Or like, oh, you know, if anyone was like working out in the street, they'd be like, hey, are you hungry? Like, come here. Or like when I was walking down one, another big thing is like the power of a cup of coffee.
Oh yeah.
Like, I remember being like, oh my God, if I drink any more coffee, I'm just going to be like running down the street, because it's so common for, you know, people you don't even know to, you just like walk and they'll be like, hey, come in for a coffee. And you're just like, oh, okay. You know, oh, why not? And you just sit, you know, and chat with them, and they're so like lively, and they really just want to share like what they have and really just enjoy like company.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I found that extremely interesting because, you know, being from the United States, yes, we're very friendly, very open, and
not
and
in
such.
the same way though.
Not in the same way. So it's like, yeah, I have my house up here, but like my neighbors are not, you know, just walking into my house.
Yeah, it's interesting because as loud as we are here, and as much as we put out there as like information wise about our lives, we are also very private people.
Yes, exactly. And so it's a very different balance.
Yeah.
You know, because here, yes, we're very open and outgoing, but also very private at the same time. And we're like, we respect the bubble that we have. And there, I remember one thing that I struggled with a bit at the beginning is that Peace Corps told us, you can actually just walk into their house and they love it. And I was like, but like, I should knock, or like, I should get invited first, you know? And they're just like, no. And I remember many times where I was like walking down the street and they'd be like, why didn't you come in? I haven't seen you yet. Why haven't you come said hi to me? And I'm like, I honestly don't know you. Like, I don't know.
Like, I can't.
Like, why would I just walk into your house? But they love that. You know, they want you to just show up and say, hey, my name's Kelly. I'm the volunteer here. Or like, you know, how's your day going? They love that stuff.
That's so cool.
And it's kind of hard to break your own like norm.
Yeah. I don't know if I could do it.
I still struggle with it to this day. I mean, I've gotten better, but still it's like, I don't want to just walk into someone's house, you know, kind of unannounced, not invited. But I have done it before, and it was completely like warm, welcoming, like, hey, oh wait, let me put on some coffee. And I'm just like, oh, you know, so it's still like an uncomfortable feeling, but you have to think of it in the sense that like it's comfortable for them. So it's not necessarily because you're out of your comfort zone, it's wrong. It's just, you have to put yourself, you really have to like dive into the culture.
Yeah. So I've heard rice fields. I've heard people drink a lot of coffee. So is this a lot of agriculture going on? There's coffee in Dominican, right? Yeah. So there is coffee up in the mountains. I think down south there's a really big region. I'm up north, so I don't know too much about the south, but I think in the south there's even like a cafe festival. I think they where they do a whole festival like around coffee. Can we plan the next trip around that festival, please? Right. Yes. So, but I don't know too much about like the south. But for example, my town specifically is known for bananas.
Okay. Really?
That we are a huge exporter in my town for bananas. I know that even like the host family that I was living with, my host dad, he owns a bunch of like banana fields, and his son, and so all like it's just completely surrounded. So it goes a bunch of rice fields into my town, and then once you're in my town, it's straight bananas like everywhere. Wow.
And is it planted banana fields? Like it's an agriculture.
Yeah. So that's like where a lot of the business comes from. So if you mention my town to anyone in the Dominican Republic, they'll say,
bananas.
Lots of bananas, lots of mosquitoes. And do you like those bananas, Kelly? Those are the two things. Did you get to like bananas? I did.
Or you already liked bananas?
I liked bananas, but it's also very interesting in how many ways can you use a banana?
Oh, that's true.
They're so versatile that I was just like, I eat a banana when I need potassium and it's ripe and that's it, you know? But here they make, so they use them for like, you know, regular, like how we eat them. But also they have like guineos, which are the green ones.
Yeah.
Right.
And they fry them and make tostones, which are like, it tastes like a French fry.
Is it similar? Like, have you had plantain chips before?
Yeah, it's a plantain. It
is okay.
Yeah,
but it's not. But it's thicker than a plantain. It's
yeah.
You know, but plantain chip is what I mean to say. It's thicker than a chip. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's thicker. So they use it that way, but they also make mango, which is the boiled banana, and then they mash it, and it's like a mashed potato.
Huh.
But with the bananas.
And it's with the green bananas.
It's with the green bananas, the ones that
Who
make the
knew?
tostones. Yeah. So I'm just like sitting here, like I've only ever thought of one way to eat a banana, you know, and also in the school lunches, they eat the sweet bananas, like with rice. I also was like, what is happening here? So there are days because you know, we're surrounded by bananas, so there are a lot of days where they'll give you your full meal, like your rice, your beans, your meat, and then they give you a banana, which normally I feel like we would eat separately, like as a dessert or so. But they put it right on the plate and they eat it along with everything. So it's got that sweet that comes in and they eat it with the rice. And it took me a while. It's really good, but it took me also a while to be like, it goes with the meal, not like a separate dessert, you know?
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
So typical plate over there is the rice, beans, meat, you know, Latin American.
It's so
like that's a common day, middle of the day meal.
Yeah.
That is such a widespread meal. It's crazy. Like, I mean, it makes sense because rice is easy and beans are a lot of protein. Like it makes sense, but it's so interesting because I feel like just about everywhere we've been in Latin American countries, like that has been a staple. Even far-reaching, like Dominican Republic, like, you know, it's stuff like that I find fascinating. I mean, it's such little details, but it's so interesting to see how similar a lot of these places end up being.
Yeah, it's very interesting because with just rice and beans, you get your complete diet that you need.
Yeah.
So that's why they really, you know, because if you don't have a lot of resources, for example, in my town, yes, we have like bananas and a rice field, but if you are to look at like supermarket aspect, we don't have any supermarket.
Okay.
So we have like the colmados, which are the small shops, but to bring like fresh produce or even stuff refrigerated all the time when we don't have 24-hour electricity.
That was going to be my next question.
We don't have 24 hours. So
how does it work there? Is it on a timer or is it just when it's out, it's out?
Yeah, it's on a timer. So one thing that's very common in the Dominican Republic is in smaller towns, they give you kind of a schedule.
Yeah.
So my schedule was I think 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. and then from 9 a.m. to 2.
Okay.
So, but they do these things called like huelgas, which is basically like a protest in a way, where because you know they'll give you a certain schedule, but they'll start to kind of take away those hours where it's like, okay, everything is like the electricity is on when it should be, but then you realize, oh, the electricity came on an hour late. You know, or it came 2 hours late, but then it, you know, didn't stay an extra 2 hours. You know what I mean? So you just kind of realize they're reducing your electricity.
Yeah.
And then eventually, you know, people can't live that way, and it makes them mad. And the only way to fix this issue is they'll have a bit of like a protest.
Yeah.
So, and then the government's like, well, you know, and then they give it back. Maybe it might be a new schedule.
Yeah.
but that's kind of how it operates. So when I first got there, I had a different schedule, and I don't really remember what it was, because I was still learning about the community, and I was very, confused on how everything works. But then we had this massive, like, kind of protest about it, where they wouldn't let any cars in and stuff like that. And then we ended up getting this new schedule.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And what's the water situation like?
Yeah. So the house that I was in, they had water that was like pumped to them, but there are trucks that go around on certain days where you can specifically like be like, hey, like, we need water, come in. It comes in at a certain time, but I don't really remember which days.
Now, is the water that comes in on the truck, is that water that is still needing to be boiled, or is that water like safe?
Clean.
Yeah, that water is not drinkable water.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I've seen it in other places, but I thought maybe it'd be different.
Yeah, no. If it comes in like the tank or it's being pumped in, it's not drinkable. The only drinkable water is either if you get like bottled water, or they have like, the big 5-gallon.
Yeah.
Right.
That's pretty common. I feel like that's pretty much everywhere I've been. I can't remember where it was that I feel like there was a truck that had drinkable water, and I could be just wishful thinking. But yeah, I think that's pretty much been the case everywhere we've been, though. It's either bottled water, the big 5-gallon.
Yeah, I think that the 5-gallon is the most common.
Yeah. So. Now, I know we already kind of talked about us and our visit, and I forgot to ask, how did you find out about us? Because it's always so interesting to learn, and sometimes it's super simple, but
actually, so I was in the middle of working on a library grant.
Oh, wow.
Company. Yeah, so I had an amazing school, amazing staff, people to work with, and we got behind this idea that the school needs a library. And with the enthusiasm and the support that I had, like, I was talking to my director, the director of my program, and she was just like, Kelly, you got to run with it. Like, go.
That's awesome.
And then, so she actually mentioned one library at a time to me.
Oh, wow.
She was like, I know that one library at a time has come here before, and you guys worked with someone, I think more in the East. His name was David.
That was Susan.
Yeah, so that's when Susan went out, I believe. So I know that we know about one library at a time through that. And she was like, honestly, I think you should contact them because of like everything that you want to do and the support that you have, because that's also a huge issue. It's like, as Peace Corps volunteers, we come into our community and we would love to do so many things, but there are so many factors that we have to think about. Is it sustainable? Which is a big thing. Is it like what the community needs? Because I'd love to come in and do all these things, but if it's not really going to benefit the community, there's no point in, or if we don't have the support and the sustainability, the project ends up falling through. So after talking to my director about it, we talked about one library at a time. So I decided to get in contact with Susan.
That's really cool.
Yeah, so I thought it was like an opportunity that presented itself based on the support that my community had, and that Peace Corps was able to acknowledge that, this project really be, and one library at a time is the company that you should really look at for support, because they're exactly what you need.
Well, and it's interesting because we have to look at a lot of the same things too, and just like the sustainability and making sure that it is a place that we should be going into, that it is something that the community wants and needs and will benefit from. So I mean, you did a lot of the legwork for us in just the questions that typically we would have had to like talk to you about first and be like, okay, well, like, do
you have a place?
Right. Is there a location?
Do you have somewhere to house the library?
I mean, this is all stuff that usually, we get people that email us or call us and want to partner up. And then we have this just laundry list of stuff that we're like, okay, awesome. Let's see if it fits. Like, let's see if we fit with your needs. And you had kind of already done so much of that legwork before you even got in touch with us, which is always super exciting. Because like when we go into places like that, we kind of go in knowing it's going to work, which is exciting.
Well, it's good to have a community that supports you too, because we've definitely had other situations where maybe not everyone was on the same page of a library we were going to do. And this makes me think, Paige, that so in Panama, I think our library is in some kind of presentation when the volunteers get to a certain point of training, because I did it when I was there and then I sort of left that. So I think we've gotten contacts from there, right? So I'm thinking like, okay, when the Peace Corps opens back up, we need to just weasel our way into some presentation that they'll get on a regular basis so more people can know about us, so that's a good advertisement for us too. But I'm so glad that the person that you were talking to at Peace Corps remembered, who we were and who Susan was.
I know, because we've only been there once. So usually countries that we're new in, I mean, we don't hear as much from them for a while, just because we're not a common name there yet. In Panama, I feel like we go to Panama, people are like, oh yeah, that's who you are.
Yeah, we're getting known in Panama. So Kelly, you were education volunteer, or?
Yes, I was an education volunteer. We were strictly in like literacy promotion.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Yeah, because the literacy rates in general in the Dominican Republic tend to be really low. So we were Spanish literacy promoters. So we were all my sector was placed in a school, and we were supposed to work with more the elementary level.
Okay.
So your day-to-day was like trying to work with specific teachers on training techniques, or you were like demonstrating different ways they could kind of up literacy, or?
Yeah. So anyway, I was kind of coordinating and working alongside with teachers to see in which ways we could just maximize, content, and kind of like, how do we present material in a more efficient way? So one of my big projects was this library project, because we don't have a library. So yes, you're teaching kids how to read and write, but the issue with that is they don't have the materials, the access to reading materials to practice. And the only way to get better at something is to practice. And so the issue at hand was, if your parents can't read and write, how do the parents help the children with any of their homework, or and basically literacy is something that we don't normally think about, but it's so important because it gives you the tools to then educate yourself. Because it's like, even if maybe I don't understand this, I can read about it and teach myself.
Right.
But with those lack of materials, without high literacy rates, it tends to be an issue. So if you don't have any materials to practice, that also tends to be an issue. And yes, there are some schools that get donations and such, but I remember looking when I first got there through my little small book collection that we had in a room in a corner, and Edgar Allan Poe was there, in an elementary school. In Spanish.
Well, yes. Okay, at least it was in Spanish. We're over here like impressed by this, but but yeah, like what good is it going to do in an elementary school? But at least it was Spanish.
Yeah. So, but also there's a big issue with a lot of English books being there, which
we see that everywhere. We see
not
it everywhere.
Helpful, because it's like, yes, I know that people really love to donate, but if you look at the context, it's not helpful.
Yeah.
So it's better to have a smaller group of books and reading materials that are applicable to their level than to have a big library where basically they're just all dust collectors, because no one knows English and no one can read Edgar Allan Poe, in third grade.
They're never going to get rid of them though. I mean, we see that in all of the places we go. They have this, a small collection of books, and typically it's either a older audience or in English, and they will keep those and they will protect them and they will never get rid of them, but nobody can use them.
Yeah. So
And
they're not utilized. They're just there sitting, collecting
yeah,
dust.
and it's so unfortunate because if the same people that left those would just leave stuff that was useful, it would make such a big difference. But
yeah,
that's why we come in. That's why we come in. I mean, that's why we do what we do.
Mm-hmm.
But we know exactly what you're talking about and what you're seeing because we see it, I think, in every single site we've ever been to.
Mm-hmm.
I think I had to be creative, like whenever I was doing mine, and make like sort of act like everything belonged to me and my project until it was finished. Because, or otherwise, like you said, Paige, they're like, why are you giving that stuff away? And I'm like, because we don't need college textbooks at an elementary school. It's not going to do any good. It's going to clutter things up. I completely forgot about that point. It's an excellent
hard
thing to mention because sometimes you have to get rid of what seems good for things that are actually going to be useful and are actually going to make their minds flourish and grow. That's really interesting. A literacy volunteer, we didn't have that project. I haven't seen a lot of literacy, just specifically literacy volunteers, so that's
what was really yours?
Mine was teaching English in the education sector.
Okay.
But I didn't really want to be in a classroom, so I just dove into projects, and I got really into the library projects and like phonics seminars for teachers and stuff like that. So, kind of like trying to train the teachers. But there were, but Panama might be a little bit more touristy than Dominican. It's got the canal and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know if they're trying to bring on English a little bit more than the Dominican is right now. Did you guys have any teaching English down there, Kelly?
That's actually I think in the Dominican Republic, it's the only education sector that has a program in the native language there. Usually it's in English, but the issue is how do you implement learning another language when you have issues reading and writing your first native language?
Yeah.
Right.
So that is kind of how I think Peace Corps looked at it, and that's why there is a Spanish literacy promotion sector in only the DR. I think every other country, if it's a language, it tends to be English.
That's fantastic.
That's excellent.
Yeah. But it's cool because we focus on like the literacy, but we work a lot with the teachers in different aspects. For example, I remember I was working a lot with classroom management as well on ways because they have a very different way of managing their classrooms, and positive reinforcement is really, really powerful, and it's something that not every country is usually used to, like we do here. Well, supposed to do here in the United States.
Fair.
So kind of finding a way to show different aspects of and also it's just a great way to learn in general. So like I've also taught English for many years. I was in Spain for 3 years. I was in South Korea, and then that's when I moved to the Dominican Republic. So just learning different aspects from around the world of classroom management teaching, it's really helped me a lot, being able to be like, okay, well, I see that this is not working. What do you think? Like, how do you like to manage your classroom? Maybe you'd like this idea. Maybe we could do this. And it's kind of like a discussion of like, how could we benefit and make your classroom more enjoyable? You also have to work on like how you present. Because if you go in there and you're like, you're doing it wrong, that's not.
Nobody likes that.
No one ever likes when someone comes in that way. And it's not even that they're doing it wrong. It's just different. So if you kind of like tell them about your experiences, that was also something we were working on, because if you don't have good classroom management, those kids are not going to learn anything. It's very difficult for kids to focus, and even something, I had like a small project where, I remember when I was in like 4th grade, and we had like, bathroom passes, like hall passes. And in my school specifically, Yeah, in my school, we had an issue with kids just leaving the classroom, you know, just like, oh, and then when you ask them, where are you going? Oh, I'm going to the bathroom. You can't really argue with them. Maybe they're like walking around and they're like, I know you're not going to the bathroom, but if you tell me you're going to the bathroom, I can't say you can't go to the bathroom, you know?
Yeah.
So I ended up being like, wait a minute, what do you guys think about hall passes, you know?
Yeah.
So I like cut out a bunch of wood and like drew on it for like hall passes. And also it's a way to enforce literacy when you write
Oh yeah.
girl, boy, bathroom pass or hall pass, you know, it's just a subtle way to also reinforce literacy skills.
Yeah.
So because you have to make sure that you grab the right pass for what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
So that ended up working out very well. You know, it was a small project. All my teachers loved it. It helped them with their classroom management because their kids weren't just roaming around. Also, it was a subtle way to implement literacy. So there are just a lot of projects, you know, where they're based on literacy, but, you know, you can, anything that really helps the school and what they need is really a benefit for your service.
There could have been a library pass, Kelly.
I know. I know. I'm sitting here. I'm like, I'm broken.
I know.
Oh, we need to like. I don't feel like I've ever heard of somebody having a focus in literacy that we volunteered with before, but it's such a perfect match for what we do. I'm like, man, we need a list.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I'm so kind of a sidestep. I mean, I know that obviously with the state of everything currently, there's probably nothing in the works or in the plans, but is Peace Corps still like staying in touch and giving you guys updates on what the future might hold?
Yeah.
Or is that something you can even talk about?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that we're still kind of all in the dark. It's very, I think if they honestly knew, they would tell us. But I think with the whole COVID thing, it's like, because within the United States, we have this, like, okay, everything's starting to open up.
Mm-hmm.
But now for like Americans, it's getting even worse, like outside. People are shutting down borders to Americans. Like, strictly now
for good reasons,
you know, for good reasons, because we have the highest rate of you know, cases. So because of that, like I remember when we got evacuated, it was very quick. I can't speak for other countries. I believe it worked the same way, but basically they're like, well, we don't think you'll get evacuated, but we don't know. And usually the countries that we're put in are, you know, like they don't really have the resources to test and stuff. So we didn't really know if like the coronavirus was really in the Dominican Republic. We knew it was there, but we knew that like it was brought by tourists, but also we don't know the extent of it.
Yeah.
So and then I remember on a Sunday they were like, all right, we're getting evacuated. You have to be here tomorrow in the capital. So imagine packing up, like you came prepared for like 2 years, packing everything up and being in the capital, which is like a 6-hour hike for me in a day. And then they were like, okay, so then I got there on Monday and they were like, all right, the border's closing on Thursday. That was the main reason we got evacuated. It was because if you get stuck here, we can't help. So
which is the main reason we canceled so quickly, because it was like, we don't want to run the risk of getting stuck.
Exactly. So they were like, okay, so we all got to the Capitol on Monday, but then trying to get like 100 and some flights out of, you know, the like one place so quickly, it was so difficult. So some of us left on Tuesday. I remember I personally left on Wednesday, and the border closed on Thursday.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was a bit tricky. And mainly we got evacuated mainly because of the border stance. But I like, you know, right now, that's also why they can't really tell us you're going to go back at this time, because
that's what I figured.
But did you guys did you do like your close of service, Kelly, or was it just a straight evacuation?
Yep. No, we all had to do a close of service. So like at first we weren't really sure how it was going to work, but they were like, it's just better to do the close of service. And then if you would like to come back when things open up, it's a different type of application where you're like reinstated.
Now, okay, for those of us that are not Peace Corps, what is close of service?
It's like, it's your base, you finished. So
Okay.
at your 2 years, you have a close of service where you fill out all of the stuff that you've done, you get all
Okay.
your medical done, and it's basically, okay, like, I did it.
Okay.
You know, we did it. It's over.
Yeah.
So
But
even though I was only a year
Sorry.
into my service,
Yeah.
I had to fill out my, even the cohort before, after me.
Yeah.
Like, some people were only there for a couple months, and
Wow.
they had to fill out a close of service. Like, I'm done.
So are they giving you any information? Like, is it possible, again, we don't know anything, but are you going to go back somewhere or back to the same country, or everything's just up in the air?
Well, this is an option. So they have opened up an application that is more like a reinstatement, but they still don't know when. But in this application, you can fill out, do you want to go back to your country, or would you like to go to another one? Because imagine that you get to your country of service, you know, and you're kind of like, well, this isn't really the program I feel like I could be most beneficial for, or, you know, this gives you an opportunity to switch gears if you'd like.
Yeah.
So, and you can choose to go in a different country, but you have to do everything all over again.
The training,
you go through 3 months training. I'm assuming that we don't, like, if I go back to the same country, which I want to, that I won't have to go through the 3 months of training, but I assume there will be some type of reintegration, like training of like, okay, this is what happened while you were gone.
Yeah.
This is what, because the school has been out since we've left.
Yeah. I mean, things are going to be different, just like they are here.
There's no guarantee you'd go back to that specific site if you signed up for your country again, or is there?
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be way more beneficial if we could all go back to our site, because imagine like all of the connections that I've built and the trust that I've built within my community, that would all be lost coming in with a new volunteer, but it's not guaranteed. There could be some issue that, you know, happens. And also they have to take into thought of the volunteers that won't go back. Yeah. So all of those spots should open up, you know, if someone decides like, you know, I can't wait that long, you know, because at first they were like, well, we think that you'll be able to go back in September. And now that we've been hearing like, you know, not so much confidence, like
I don't know
confidently anymore. Because with the coronavirus, there's no like, it's not like kind of more like hurricane season or something like where it's like, okay, hurricane season kind of ends here, you know, you'll definitely be able to
go back. Yeah.
There's no idea. We don't know anything about like COVID. It's really up in the air because of our lack of knowledge on the subject. And we really don't know how to coordinate within the United States, let alone to coordinate with a whole other country about bringing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
From, you know, and not only that, but another country where we're bringing in people from the worst
exactly
of the virus. Like, I mean, do they want us? Probably not. Well, so we are pushing time. I know I have one super sidestep of a question that may be easy to end on. Knowing that you have done so much travel and lived in so many different places, I don't know how much time you've had back in the States in between those, but what does it feel like to be stuck at home?
You know, it's like, there's a specific word that I'm looking for, but it's like a reverse culture shock.
Yeah, I lived in another country for a while, so that's why I'm curious.
Yeah, and I'm kind of just like, like what? Like I kind of like don't know what to do here. And also it's very like unusual in the sense that when I do come home, because I've been out of the country for 6 years. I have not lived in the United States.
That's what it sounded like.
Yeah. So coming back here, usually when I come back, it's like for 3 weeks and I'm getting a visa to go to my, like the next country or so. And I kind of make it as like, okay, I'm here, strategically plan to see like all the people I want to see. And, you know, you get family time. But now I'm here like, definitely. I don't know when. And I kind of feel like, what am I supposed to do? And due to the COVID, technically I shouldn't be leaving out, bopping around, seeing all of my friends either.
Yeah.
So I've kind of been like, well, I'm going to get really good at gardening And you know, I'm now a professional like bird watcher.
Yeah.
So
I feel you.
trying to find ways to occupy yourself, because you know, at some point you're like, okay, I can hang out here for a bit, you know, I'm doing the quarantine, but then you start to be like, wow, I'm actually kind of stuck, because due to COVID, you can't go and like take advantage of being home. I can go and see everyone. Also, I want to go back to the Peace Corps, but even if I didn't, job searching is difficult, you know, in this time. So it's kind of just like you're stuck in just in one spot where there's really no, you know, doors are open at the moment. Because you don't really, because if I go and move on and get a job, then when Peace Corps does contact me, you know, like you
really feel like you have to burn a bridge at that point.
You know, it's just kind of like in this awkward, you know, weird part where you're just like, I don't know what to do. I'm stuck here, you know?
No, I've described it as a, almost a feeling of just life claustrophobia.
Yeah, I can definitely see
like
that.
I don't know how else to put it in words, but how you're explaining it, it's similar. You feel stuck, but you're not, but you are. And so it's hard. It's a weird place to be, especially for those of us that are used to traveling and spending long-term time in other countries. You know, because I think all three of us have done that. Not with Peace Corps for me, but I have, you know, I spent 3 years outside of the United States. So to now be completely stuck and isolated,
landbound,
like where we are, it's very hard to explain and talk to people that have not spent significant time away from their home country. So it's I feel for both of you guys, because I know you know what it feels like, but it's also nice to talk to other people that understand what that feeling is, because it is very unique to those of us that have spent time away, which is why I wanted to ask you about it, because after you said that you even before Peace Corps were outside of the United States, you know, it is it's a much different situation for you than it is for most people.
Yeah, it's definitely the reverse culture shock is definitely like, okay, so kind of just used to being, you get used to kind of being uncomfortable in different cultures, and then you come back here and you're also kind of uncomfortable, you know,
to be comfortable.
It's almost overwhelming, because you know, again, you know, when you're in another place, even if when you haven't fully gotten used to it yet, it's like you're used to that not fully understanding what's going on around you at all times, and then you come back and you understand everything, and it's almost an overwhelming amount of input, because all of a sudden everything makes sense.
That's a good way of putting it.
It's just input overload.
Paige, before we let her go, we have got to ask about Better World Books and how you got connected with them. Because Susan she's not here this week. She would
she'd kill us.
She might suspend us. We're having Barb from Better World Books on in the next few weeks. And so we know that Better World Books is a donor of various kinds of books, right? To countries around the world, to libraries. And I know that they've donated specifically to one library at a time.
Yeah, we've gotten a lot of donations.
A lot of books in them. But we were just curious, Kelly, how did you find them and connect with them? I know you'd already gotten resources from them.
Yeah, so actually I was talking to Susan about like kind of how she was explaining everything to me about how One Library at a Time works when we were like, you know, becoming acquainted and such. And she was like, look, because I explained to her my whole project and like everything that was going on, and also, you know, the benefit of the support that you have, which is really usually hard to find. You know, it's like, everyone wants to get books in a library, but with the support that I had, it was like we could really take advantage of this, because, you know, every every aspect of this project, my team, like all of the teachers and the community was behind it, like 120%. So she was like, look, I know about this company called Better World Books. You should contact them, yada, yada. So I contacted them and they were so nice. And as I was talking to them, they were like, okay, so, you know, kind of, you have to fill out kind of like what you're looking for.
Yeah.
You know, and I was like, well, I would like Spanish books. There's no need for any English books, you know, because that's a lot of times when you get donations and such, if you get the wrong type of book, it's really pointless in the end. And so she was like, all right, let me see like what I have. Next thing you know, she's like, all right, I got 5 boxes of just Spanish books ready for you. And I was just like, this is amazing, you know, like they're all Spanish. They're like all boxed up, ready to go, and everything about them was just so easy, and like they were so excited as well to participate that, you know, just, you know, when you just get that feeling about a project that it's like everyone's excited to be a part of a project.
Yeah.
You know, and they really just genuinely want to help, and they want to see like success. They want to see you succeed, the community succeed. That's so like cool. Both One Library Time and Better World Books have been nothing but blessings to this whole project.
And to put it in perspective, those 5 boxes for people and for you, I don't know if you even realize this. If I'm not mistaken, when Susan told me how many books were actually in those boxes, it's more than what we usually leave in a library in just those boxes.
I think it would have doubled the library of what we take. Yeah. And then we were going to bring those resources down too.
So your library would have ended up being about double what we normally leave it as, just because of those boxes.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah. Yes. I haven't been able, because I was in the process of trying to figure out like the weight and everything, and trying to how to get the books. I was like, okay, I was
tasked with helping with this, and that's about when everything just went kaput, because we were like trying to figure out suitcases, and since my friend Alex was going and he's much stronger than me, we were just gonna send everything to him and be like, here, Alex, you're responsible.
Yep. You pack it. I'll see you down there.
He doesn't know this.
I was thinking, I was like, who do I have that could come visit me at this perfect, convenient time? Yeah. You know, like, hey, Mom, Dad, do you want to come?
And don't pack any clothes, because it's going to be full of books.
I think that's probably the biggest donation we've seen.
That's amazing.
And could you specify, did you tell her it was like primary, so they were also specifically primary?
Yes, I was like, I was like, we're elementary. It's got to be Spanish, and, you know, kind of, you give them a bit of an idea of what you're looking for, and they kind of see like what they have, and they, as far as I was concerned, I don't even think they're duplicates. I don't think they give you any duplicates. So, because then if another company comes, or another, you know, someone comes in looking for volunteers, they don't want to give all the books, like the duplicates, to one. So I think they don't do duplicates for that reason. So they were just like, we got a lot of books. We're super excited for your library. Like, we can't wait to see them get there. And then that's when we were coordinating how to get from here to there. And then that's when everything COVID hit.
Well, I really hope we figure out a way to get them there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Once everything gets moving again. But I feel like this is a perfect place to leave this one. On a very good
note. I wanted to get that in because we're going to have Barb on.
Yeah, no, Susan would have killed us.
Somebody who's worked with her, and just to get to know a little bit, you know, get to tell a little bit more about Better World Books. But yes, Kelly, thank you for being on, and this was a lovely conversation. If you go back, we could have you on again, or, you know, we'll see what happens.
I know. Stay in touch. Hopefully Alex and I get to come visit you one day.
Of course, I hope so.
We were very excited, but we will see what happens. But yes, thank you so much for coming and chatting with us.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
I feel like this was a really, really good one with a lot of insight about just like some of the background
Yeah.
in Peace
A lot
Corps
to learn
and
about
Fun
Dominican.
Library.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
well,
We'll see you. See you
bye,
next time.
guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.